So, on this theme of macro, tell us a little bit about what led you to co-found Fulcrum.
Well, two of us were leaving Goldman at the same time, myself and Andrew Stevens, co-founder of Fulcrum. And we wanted to build a firm that we hoped would be excellent, managing assets with a macro theme, not always macroeconomics or global macro strategies, but with a kind of macro overview. And Andrew had been a very successful money manager in Goldman, and I'd been Goldman chief economist, and we thought we could work together well, and that is what has happened. And we've done many different types of things at Fulcrum, but we've arrived at a point where we think our sort of key strength is to build investment approaches based loosely around a macro kind of understanding of the world. And that's unusual, actually. Most asset managers don't have that. We think we can attract very good people to work with that vision in mind. And I suppose if we have a USP, that is it. And we've built a business that is growing, and so far, so good.
Yes, it's grown very well, and you have some excellent strategies in multi-asset and in climate and other areas, which we'll talk a little bit about later in the podcast. How would you describe the firm's philosophy, your approach to markets and how they work?
Well, I mean, the number one word, actually, I would use, that I hope all the people that are working at Fulcrum would recognize, is humility in the face of markets. And, we are not people who think it's easy to manage money in markets. There are very large numbers of other extremely able people doing this. And the market price is a kind of referee that sorts out all of those opinions. And you've got to be able, therefore, to do better than the amalgamation of all that talent. And that is not easy. And I think the moment you think it's easy, and the moment you think, it's like golf, the moment you think you finally found the secret of golf and you can whack it 320 yards down the middle, you're about to do a triple bogey, honestly. So humility in the face of markets, I think, is one. I do hope excellence is a feature of what we do. Our economics group now is far more excellent than I ever was in many, many, many ways of being an economist, in the academic work they do, in the econometric work they do.
Do you put that down to anything in particular?
When we started to build our economics group, I suppose that was 15 years ago, really. We initially started with some Goldman people who we had worked with at Goldman, and they came proven because we knew exactly how they would function. And they're still with us, actually, many of those. The ones that have joined us have tended to join us from central banks on the whole, interestingly. So not from competitors in the markets, the economics group, that is. And therefore, they are people who are trained in what they would think of, and I would think of, as really, proper economics that can influence other economists as well as understand markets. And we have outstanding people that have wanted to work in the financial markets, but want to apply their skills as pretty serious economists to those markets. And I think if we have a particular sort of USP, that might be one of the ways of defining it.
Podcast is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute financial advice or take into account the particular investment objectives, financial situations, or needs of individual listeners. Listeners should consider whether any opinions or recommendations in this podcast are suitable for their particular circumstances and, if appropriate, seek professional advice, including tax advice.